Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fine episode. I'm certain it'll be a fine episode of the Conversations with Coaches podcast. I'm your host, Kevin, and today I get to meet someone new. I love being able to meet someone for the first time as I'm about to interview them for the podcast. It's always exciting and consistently delivers. And so far, we've only been talking for a few minutes, but Kiley Peters is going to be no exception to the rule. Let me introduce you to Kiley. I'm going to take a deep breath. Kiley is a serial entrepreneur, national speaker, small business strategist, executive coach, operations consultant, brand marketer, and podcast host. Deep breath, and probably much more. She's the founder of Brainchild Studios, an international award-winning digital content strategy agency, and RAYNE, is it RAYNE IX or RAYNE IX?
RAYNE IX.
RAYNE IX, there we go, RAYNE IX, an executive consultancy for women small business owners. Kiley, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I am excited to talk about probably just like the tip of the iceberg of everything you do.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So I like to begin at the beginning and talk about and I cheekily refer to it as your superhero origin story. How did you find your powers as a coach? Like, did someone tell you, like a trusted mentor or a friend or a parent, whoever, that who you are, what you do, a really great expression of it would be coaching? Did you kind of discover this for yourself as you moved through the professional world? How did you become a coach?
Ironically enough, I became a coach purely out of curiosity.
Ooh,
So yeah, it was never my intention. Like I had no plan of becoming a coach. I think it was the summer of 2020. Lots of good things happening then. Yes. I was running my agency, Brainchild Studios, and I was trying to figure out how to be a better leader for my team. And so I was like, people keep telling me about coaches. I should find one. I think that's what I need now. And so I found this amazing woman who's still my coach. And as I started working with her about 6 months, I think it was about 6 months in, I was like, can you tell me more about how you became a coach? Because I'm just so fascinated by what you've been able to help me do. And I just purely want to learn more about it because I think it's valuable. And so she went through, and therefore I went through the coactive training program. And so in 2021, the beginning of 2021, I started the fundamentals program, and then I did the full program. And then in 2022, I did the certification. But it really purely started out as curiosity. And then as I got into it, I was like, I think as with most coaches, when they get started, like, oh my God, this is so hard. I have to relearn giving people advice. Like, I'm not supposed to be doing that. But so often, especially as business owners, people ask us questions to get advice. And it's like just rewiring your brain. And so that was definitely a new muscle for me. And so as I went through my training and certification and started building my own clients, what I realized about myself was that I loved coaching, but I really loved consulting. Like I had like a come to Jesus moment. I was like, okay. I know I spent the last 2 years like becoming a coach, but like I still really love consulting. So what I did was I got really clear on who I wanted to serve and the problems I wanted to solve. And I created a curriculum that combines coaching and consulting. So I get to have my cake and eat it too, and hopefully still successfully solve said problems for my audience.
I really getting clarity on who you want to serve. That's a very elegant way to state what it's very frequently at the heart of everyone who seeks to become a coach or become a consultant. Is there's that when you figure it out, what you're really figuring out for yourself is, who do I want to serve and how do I want to serve them? Exactly. And it's just like with that clarity, I feel like it's just like it's almost like a sunburst moment where you're like it illuminates so much of like, oh yeah, the next steps. It's like, because a lot of times when you're at that beginning point, you have that curiosity and it's like, I want to learn more. It's not so ironic, actually. That curiosity it's one of those core values from pretty much every coach worth their salt who I've ever spoken to. They're just naturally curious, but then figuring out what steps to take, that can be like, people can get stuck there. They can get lost there, kind of wandering around the dark looking for like, okay, so I know the who, and I think I understand the how, but I need some help. And so, of course, most
Yeah,
every coach I've ever talked to has a coach of their own.
for sure.
And I love the distinction that you make and the hybridization you've put together between coaching and consulting. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times people have a limited understanding of what each of those are. And so they get a little
Mhm.
bit conflated in ways that
Yeah.
actually reduce clarity. And I love that you're bringing clarity to that distinction in a way that brings them together. So I speak more on that. I know I'm talking a little bit, but you said a lot that got me excited. So
Yeah, no, no, no. Well, so like most entrepreneurs, I built my business based off of my personal experience. So in the brief version is in 2021, I essentially crashed. I tried to do too many things, didn't want to do the things I was doing. It was just a lot of things. So, in reflection on figuring out like how did I come through that? How did I get to the other side? I kind of reverse engineered everything that I did, and then I refined it and created an infrastructure I call the DNA of success. And I believe that for a small business owner to be successful, you have to make business personal. You have to first define success for yourself as a human, and then align your business strategy to that personal definition of success. So this whole concept of like, oh, it's not personal, it's business is business, it's not personal, I think is a load of crap. And so I proudly stand behind that, because so often we're focused on building a successful business. And so many people build quote unquote successful businesses. They have big teams, they have revenue, blah, 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 blah. But they're miserable because they're not doing the type of work that fills their cup. They're not spending their time the way they want. It's nothing is really truly aligned, because to be fair, they probably haven't done that work yet. They probably also haven't had a coach yet to do that work with, right? So, as I kind of reverse engineered it, I specifically work with two types of individuals. We work with women small business owners who provide services, so professional services usually, who have either been running their business for a while, and to the outside, they look like they're doing great, all the things, and they hate their life. And they're like, something has to change. I don't know what it is. I'm a little afraid to admit it. It's kind of embarrassing, but like, I can't do this anymore. I'm super burnt out, etc. Right. So a lot of that has to do with realignment, or alignment in the beginning. Right. And then we focus on streamlining their business to increase profitability so that they can also increase personal fulfillment at the same time. And the second type of person we work with is typically a woman that's in corporate America, is sick of the corporate gig, has a great skill set, wants to start her own consulting gig, doesn't know how to do the business part though, and doesn't want to like waste 3 years trying to figure it out. So she as well can join our workshop. And day one is all about the owner. So it's all coaching, right? So it's all about coaching. We go through all kinds of exercises, and we do this either one-on-one, and we do this in groups as well. So day one, get really clear on who you want. And I believe that we define success by getting clear on your intention, your energy, and your time. When you get clear on those things, it makes it so much easier to figure out what you say yes to and what you say no to in your life and in your business. And then day two, we go through business strategy. So we go through all the fundamentals of your business. Then we go, just like we were talking about, Kevin, we go through identifying who your audience is, what problems you solve for them. And then we work on productizing your services so you can increase efficiency and profitability and be able to create something that is scalable should you choose. And then we go through unique marketing, messaging, and positioning. We go through all the financials, which is always a scary part for most people.
Yeah.
We go through profit margin analysis, and then we build out a roadmap. All of that is on the third day. So that's kind of how we've done it. So we take a look at the owner, all coaching on day one, because as I can't consult you on who you are and what you're meant to be, right? And then we look at day two to get clear on how we align your business to your personal goals and values. And then we create a roadmap and understand the financials to make it happen.
It is the word that jumps immediately to mind is that is robust in all the right ways. Like I'm
It
feeling
is.
like I'm feeling and I'm
It's a
thinking
lot.
about it. You're explaining it to me. It's a lot, but also like I'm feeling like an earthquake proof building. Like this is how you lay a foundation. If you really want to do the work and do it right, this is where you put it in. And I love actually, let me take one step back. I
Yeah.
think a lot of successful people will at some point in their journey, whether they're an entrepreneur or climbing a corporate ladder, they'll fall into the trap of internalizing and really feeling like they've got to do it themselves. They've got to, and if there's
Yes.
something that something needs to happen, they've got to figure it out. They've got to learn how to do it and do it. Not that they, disbelieve in the power of help. It's just not, it's not a muscle that they've been rewarded for using in their journey to success.
Yeah.
And when you want to shift what that definition of success looks like for you, and actually by shift, I more mean get rid of what other people have told you and that you've internalized as your own, and really think about what it looks like for you, what that word means, how it manifests in your day-to-day life, how you feel about your life, your professional and personal life, which again are one and the same. We like to separate them sometimes, but we got to remember that they are one and the same. It's still us. Having someone come in and shine that light, talk to you about who you are, listen to you talk about yourself, which is always very revealing when you ask very highly successful people what they think defines success for them. And you're like, I wonder if you're right about that. And you've got all of these very detailed plans where it's like, okay, I can see that I would like to change. I have the urge, the desire, it's growing. I mean, they wouldn't have reached out to you in the first place if something wasn't already growing within them. You're like, I know exactly how to approach this, what to do next. And I feel like that appeals to the high achiever, because most high achievers is like, okay, show me the roadmap, show me the plan, let me see the building schematics, and roll out the big papers, and like, and you have all of that as well as the personal touch and the getting to know you. It's just, quite frankly, I'm impressed, I think is the long way around to what I'm saying. I'm very impressed with your approach, and I feel like it addresses exactly who you want to address and how they need to be addressed, how they need to be connected with and communicated to at that important stage of their journey.
Yeah. And what I'll also say too is the work we do is not unlike what other people do, in the sense that not everyone's we're not going to be the right fit for everybody, right? Like if you're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to talk about feelings and we're not going to go there, then we're probably not the right fit for you. If you're going to be offended by other people talking about their feelings, then we're probably not the right fit for you, right? And that's okay. And somebody else will be. But if you're willing to show up and you're willing to shed the layers and you're willing to do the work and you're really willing to focus, like I really firmly believe that we can save people 3 years off of just muddling their way through their business. And we do this in 3 days.
And that's such another important distinction that I love to hear, is that fit. It might not be us, and it might not be time yet. It could be you and I in a year, could be you and I in 6 months, however it actually works out. And that commitment to fit is really, it's an expression of authenticity, of just frankly, honesty, where it's like, I see you, you see us. It's just something, it's not right for reasons, and we can identify those. We could talk about those. Let's either, the old circle back thing, which is another important thing. Let's check back in and see if things shift for this relationship in a certain amount of time, or here's this coach, or here's this consultant, or here's this agency that we know that's worked with people who are more in your position. Let's connect you and see what maybe if there's a good fit there. That commitment to fit is something I find to be intrinsic to every good coach I've spoken to. They are committed to finding and being the right fit for their clients. And if they're not, they make sure to communicate that right at the beginning. And it's just the integrity in that is, again, I'm thinking of integrity, of honesty and structural integrity. And you've got both definitions of that word in your approach, which I'm responding to very, very, very powerfully.
Well, I think the others, like there's a couple of ways to break that down too, right? So one is the integrity behind it. It's not going to be this is not going to be a win-win for anybody if we don't call it like we see it. And the second part of that is from a business standpoint. I've been doing this for a few years now, right? And I can tell you with certainty that I have said yes to a handful of clients, consulting clients, not coaching clients, consulting clients, that I was like, okay, we can do this, like in my early years, right? And never once was it a good idea. Never once. And almost always I lost money on it. So it's like, you're not doing anybody any favors. If your goal is to help somebody, help them either by what you had mentioned is like find the right fit if it's not you, or own it if it is you and commit to making the transformation.
It's kind of insidious how people really, they think of yes as a universal positive expression and no as a universal negative expression.
Yeah.
When quite frankly, that could not be farther from the truth. I have encountered plenty of bad yeses and
Yes.
really great no's in my life. I've been on both sides of that, the giver and receiver. And again, you spoke right to it when you were laying out your plan, your 3 days. That's becoming acquainted with what you'll say yes to and what you'll say no to. Really getting to know it and understanding that why. I mean, that's the kind of wisdom that comes from experience, and you don't really want to have to go through that over and over again. That's again, it's one of the great benefits and
It's
great powers of
painful.
coaching and consultancy. Is that's like, you know what, let me have made these mistakes for you. Let us have made these mistakes for you and learn the lessons. Not to say that you're not going to make them yourself. You're gonna bump into
You'll
some corners
definitely
here and
make
there
your
and
own
you'll scrape
mistakes.
Oh, heck yeah.
For
But
sure.
just understand that not every yes is a positive and not every no is a negative. I feel like it's very foundational. And you say it out loud and you're like, oh, duh, that's pretty simple. Most of it is.
No, but I love that insight, because you're absolutely right. And I love the perspective of yeses are typically seen as positive and nos are seen as negative. And I agree with you. I think that's totally false. You know, you have to look at the full context and the intention behind them. Like, are you saying yes because you are greedy and you need to pay your rent to this month or whatever it is? Or are you saying no because you're protecting your time and you know that you don't have the ability to take on another client right now? Like, those are totally different things.
And they're both your goal. And again, it comes right back to where you started, which of course is perfect. Your goal is who am I trying to serve, and how can I serve them? And it's such a proving journey. Every time, if you constantly come back to that question, and I so frequently find that great coaching is about great questions. Come back to like, who am I trying to serve here? Who am I serving, and how am I serving them? And just sit with that question, with the answers that come out of that question, and the even better questions that might come out of a question like that. It's like, oh, I'm serving myself right now. How am I doing that? Oh, and it's just all these cascading questions, and it just starts to shine light around what you're doing, why you're doing it, and again, brings that clarity that we're all looking for. I get so excited by the fact that we can traffic in these really like high level human concepts of just existence and happiness, and at the same time have extremely detailed blueprints and battle plans and roadmaps to get from here to there. And it's just it's why I'm always so taken and I get so passionate about coaching and consulting and the ways in which it can help people on that journey that just really they just need a little bit of guidance and a little bit of advice, even though that's another thing that we've defined as a negative. But come on, we all need some advice sometimes, and we need to be able to receive it and give it.
For sure. And I'll add to that too, is I think the other thing that is pretty universal for all humans is we need a safe space that we feel that we can be heard and we cannot be judged, and we can just work through whatever we need to work through, which is one of the first things that really drew me into coaching. It's like, as an adult, you don't have, like, it ends up being your spouse most of the time. And then they're like, stop complaining to me all the time. And it's like, you're right. I'm sorry. That's not fair to you.
Not fair.
And then it's like, okay, I can't do that to my sister, my best friend. Like, it's not fair to them either. And it's like, I need someone to talk to who's not going to judge me, who has an unbiased third-party opinion and can hold a safe space. And I think it's human nature. Like, we all need that. And so I think it's such a beautiful gift, you know, in all of my coaching experience, and I'm sure you can attest to this as well. I have never met one coach that was like, oh, I'm here, I'm in this for me.
Yeah, not one.
They're just like, I just want to help people. I just want to help them. I care so much. I want to help. And it's like, oh, it just renews my faith in humanity a little bit.
It really does. It really does. And I love I feel in my heart of hearts that when I've leaned on partners and family and close friends for things that they didn't sign up for that.
Yeah. That wasn't the agreement.
They hold so much for me.
That wasn't the designed alliance, right?
I like that. The designed alliance. That's a good. I'm gonna borrow that one. But yeah, I think about often like, I don't know, it's like a storytelling trope, but also just like an experience. I feel like we all have at some point where you just encounter a stranger and you find yourself telling them your life story. because that distance between you and whatever the circumstances are that allows that space to come into being, you feel like you can step into it and fill it with everything that's like weighing on you, or things that you don't even realize are weighing on you that they are. And a coach is almost like an intimate stranger who has like have all the skills and all of the ability and all of the care. Like they genuinely care about you and about the work, and they're a borderline complete stranger. And so you have that strange cocktail of intimacy and empathy and connection there, into which so much can flow that you didn't even realize that you were sitting in, like, you know, the middle seat on coach. And so you start to like you stand up and all of a sudden your bones start
great
cracking
analogies.
and you're like, this is how my brain works.
I love it.
I can't help it.
I love it.
But that feeling when you're all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's so much more space here. I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, I could dive into the concept of space with you as well. Like that's one thing that my coach and I have worked on for the last 3 years, is like, that's my biggest takeaway, is I need space. Like, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that, but like for me to operate at my highest and best use, I need space to like think and build and create. And so trying to find that internal balance of like, oh, well, I also want to give and give and give and give of myself. So all of my calendar is full of 15-minute meetings and back-to-backs. Like, I need space because I need that to refuel, you know? So getting clear on what you say yes and what you say no to, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny, and this might be. I mean, we're stumbling. I'm going to have you back on for a part 2, because this conversation is utterly delightful. But it got me thinking about how sometimes you need space and sometimes you need to be held, and getting one when you need the other can be catastrophic.
Yeah, that's a great insight.
Having your relationships built in such a way and being able to communicate those needs when they arise to the right people in the right moment, and have them understand how to listen to you. There are a few feelings like that in the world. Someone who holds you when you need to be held and gives you space when you need that space. Like whenever that happens, from whoever that comes, it's just, it's one of the greatest human experiences. And that maybe sounds a little poetical, but that's the way I feel about it. It's so beautiful.
No, I agree with you. I think one of the greatest insights, my sister helped me name this a few years ago, and then I've helped to I don't want to use the word train, but communicate to my husband. Like whenever I'm talking about something, it's like, I just need you to listen right now. I don't need you to solve my problem, or I am asking for advice. You know, just say the thing that you need, but sometimes we don't have the words to say the thing. So finding that space to name the thing and then communicate the thing has saved us from a lot of fights.
Speaking of saving time, that could save you 3 years of fights.
Yeah,
you can get there in 3 days or 3 minutes just by having those words understood between each other. It's like, and as you said that, I was like, oh man, there have been so many times where that's what I needed. I needed my instructions to be read to me because I might have started to come in and try and solve the problem when that is not what is required right now from the person I'm trying to care about. Like my intentions are good, but we all know where that road can lead without a little bit of guidance. So that's for sure. Yeah. I felt a little bit of like a twinge where it was like, oh yeah, I've certainly stepped in doo-doo a number of times, and doing
we all
one
have.
The other one's been asked for.
Yeah.
We all have. Oh my god. Okay, so I just looked up at the Zoom clock, and we're already like 30 minutes into our conversation, which is about as much time as we usually spend. I'm 100% going to bother you to come back on this podcast just to continue this conversation. I've had a delight. Before I let you go, the usual stuff. Where can people find out more about you, who you are, what you do, how you do it? Where can people best connect with you? I don't know if you have if you just direct everybody to like the centralized website, or if you like engage on social media, if you're real active on like LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok or wherever you happen to be. So yeah, get to know you better, where to find you.
Yeah. So I have my personal website, Kiley Peters, Kiley Peters.com. You can also visit us at RAYNE9, RAYNEIX.com to learn more about the work we do. And you can find me and RAYNE9 on LinkedIn and on Instagram.
Perfect. Making it easy. That's the way it should be.
Trying.
Thank you. I was going to launch into another just going around like how much I enjoyed the conversation. It just comes back to gratitude, which is a core concept we didn't even touch on. We'll have to touch on that next time too. Thank you for being you, because that you exist in the world and you're doing the work that you're doing. makes me happy, gives me hope. And selfishly, I had a really great time talking with you, and I would totally want to do it again. So yeah, thanks
Same.
for being you, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It was a pleasure. And thank you for having me on the show.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good.